We gon' make some moves tonight, yeah, stand up. Got something to prove tonight, so stand up. We ain't gonna plan tonight, we gonna take action on our dreams and fight, alright. We ain't gonna stall, never stop. We gon' make it all till it's out. We ain't gonna plan tonight, we gonna take action on our dreams and fight, alright.
Hey, huge apologies. We are 20 minutes late on this, and it is completely my fault in what can only be described on the IT side as a PEBCAC error. Anyway, my name is Scott Churchson, alongside Mr. Haylon, who is showing off his 5-borough footy badge from today's New York City Football Club 3-1 win over the previously 4-game unbeaten Chicago Fire. This is something that kind of didn't expect I was going to see in this regard. It ended up happening just the same. We have some player interviews. We have some commentary. We got a bunch of things in here to break this all down. Again, huge apologies for being a couple minutes late on that. It was a glitch. It drove me crazy, and I said all sorts of dirty words until I could figure out what was going on.
You guys couldn't imagine what he
easy
said.
Switch, and then where we go. Anywho,
you guys can't imagine what he said. He said all different types of things.
I said words that were just polite and Sesame Street worthy and nothing beyond that.
Lots of color.
Very, very happy, sweet, fuzzy, fun words that basically would not get demonetized in any form or fashion.
There you go.
Yes. So anyway, now that we're back up and running again,
we're here. We're in it.
Let's talk. I mean, right now, New York City Football Club fell behind early, got a little bit of a lucky break because of the fact that Minnesota United, oh my God, Chicago Fire had not one, but eventually 2 red cards. But more specifically,
insane. By the way, I don't think I've heard enough about how crazy that is. 2 red cards. That's such a rare thing. But like, I mean, it was, and I don't know if I would call it even lucky. It was, Brian Gutierrez. There was no question, on that red card that he got, because it was. I didn't see it at first in like real time, but on the replay. Good thing somebody caught it. Like, good thing the ref caught it, because when you clearly see him throw that elbow up, and it's just like, okay, dark arts, I get, right? I get dark arts. Sure, it's a necessary class. Everyone has to do it to pass their OWL exam. But like, at the same time, pick your moments a little bit more intelligently. And he really, when we went up by 1. First thing I thought of was that Brian Gutierrez red.
Yep.
I just thought, like, oh my goodness, like when you get a red, you would hope that your team gives you grace, and they're like, you know what, it happens to all of us at some point, right? But in games like this where you were leading, and then after the red, this happens, you're then thinking, damn, are they gonna? I mean, it's kind of my fault, right? So, yeah, he's gonna have to sit with that decision.
I kind of look at it akin to like Rocky Balboa, the 6th one, when Mason Dixon accidentally breaks his hand in the 2nd round, and then Rocky comes back. Okay.
Price of tea.
Fair enough. But yeah, in this case, it allowed the opportunity for NYCFC to come back and make something happen here.
Yeah.
We got, like I said, we got a couple highlights here. We got some player interviews, commentary after the fact. So we got a whole bunch of moving parts here. But again, in this case, this was a really big win. Surprised me a little bit. I didn't think it was going to happen. I really kind of had a feeling the team was going to drop this one. I had kind of saw maybe like a 1-1 draw energy out of something like this.
Yeah, it felt like it a little bit, especially when we went down, I almost wasn't as shocked, because I was like, coming into this, I was hearing so many good things about Chicago and Cuypers, and just it just felt like, damn, if we win this, we're lucky, right?
Yeah.
And for the game to turn out the way it did, I don't know how much of it was luck. I don't know how much of it was, flowers due to Pascal and what he had set up,
I think in this case, the falling behind early didn't surprise me much, because the team had been playing 3 days, every 3 to 4 days, and suddenly had an 8-day stretch. So you expect a little bit of early rust going into it, which ended up being the case here. Because you're playing a Chicago Fire team that has been playing a lot of games lately, and the only issue that I had in that case, and the question I had there, was whether or not the team was going to be struggling on the back end in the second half, and start making mistakes and getting fatigued. And I think all of that came in this case here, because NYCFC fell behind early because maybe they were a little rusty, a little bit out of sorts. And then Chicago started to run out of gas, and you saw 3 goals in the second half.
Yeah.
I should look up when the last time that was they scored 3 in the second half.
Uh, I loved your yellow card question today. It was such a good moment because it's like I too love I love the connection between really innocuous data, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but like data that doesn't seem like it relates, but it does
Yeah.
matter. Like I love making those type of connections too. But yeah, I love the Pascal's reaction to it. Where what was it you said when the team has 3 or more yellow cards, um, uh, they're 4-0 or something like that.
Yeah, so here it is. I just pulled up the press conference right now, so I can play it. I play it if I get enough audio out of it. But here's what I found this season, and might be one of the dumbest stats I have ever found. But you know what? It is definitely a stat. This season, NYCFC has had a yellow card, 3 or more yellow cards in a game 4 times. This is the first time this season that they had 4 yellow cards in a match. They've had 3 yellow cards 3 different times. What's unique about that is every single time that New York City Football Club has had at least 3 yellow cards, they have won the game. And
Right.
they are ironically 4-0-0 when
Yeah.
they've had at least 3 yellow cards, and they're 3-6-3 when they don't.
Right. And I'm the right audience for this, right? Because I'm right there with you. I love to make those type of connections. And I do think there's some sort of
There's got to be
causality there,
at that point
right?
there has to be a correlation.
There's
After a
some sort
while,
of correlation there. And I feel like it's what you were trying to imply, which was the physicality, the effectivity of the press and just what happens like if you're a team that's pressing and you're effective with the press, you're gonna incur some fouls, and you're gonna incur some yellow cards maybe, right?
Yeah.
So I do see that as related. He knows better than either of us put together. So I understand, I mean, I take his word for it that he doesn't see a connection, but it's hard to ignore just the randomness of 3 or more yellows,
Yep.
4-0.
4 now, yeah. Now, in this case, let me bellow if you can't hear this. I'm going to play what was given to me and what was sent to me. This is the best that I can do as part of pump up the volume.
As long as they show that determination throughout the week.
Can you hear that okay?
And we get
Yes.
ourselves into these situations, I'm quite confident.
All right, here we go, I think.
Scott? Hey, Coach, how are you? Scott Shirts and Stream Punk Soccer. Weird stat we came across earlier. The team right now is a perfect 4-0 when they have at least 3 yellow cards. Do you have any thoughts on that one if you got any? Thanks.
Now, in this, I just want to pause this for a second because at this point, he's kind of like reeling from the, is this really a thing?
Yeah.
He's kind of looking at it because I'm gonna have to unpause it for a second because I have to re-clarify it because it was so far out of left field, but also it helps in a weird way establish me as that guy with him.
Yeah.
And that's part of it too. I gotta be listen. Nick Cushing and Ronnie Dylan knew I was that guy, and now so does Pascal Janssen. So here's the rest of it. Here's the rest of it.
So when the team actually has at least 3 yellow cards, in this case 3, today 4, the team is a perfect 4 wins, no losses, and no draws. I'm just curious if you have any thoughts. Is it a coincidence? Is it is it aggressive display or anything in that department? Thanks.
I'm not telling my guys to go outside and take the yellow cards in order to make more out of the game. No, I said to your colleagues it now also. We were unfortunate with a few yellow cards. So was the opponent, but we have to deal with it. And we went into the second half knowing that we had 2 guys in the back 4 or back 3 if you count Justin as a midfield player on yellow, and that's a risky one because you will get moments against 10 men that they will have to use the counter, and maybe you have to make a tactical foul or whatever. You might lose a player yourself. So again, I'm not telling my guys to take on yellows in order to get the win seal.
So
now,
yeah.
now here's the thing I've noticed in the short time that we've had him, as far as like being able to converse with him and
Mhm.
bounce our thoughts off of him. He's very direct in how he answers things. He
Mhm.
doesn't dance around things and all that. And I won't say that it's necessarily a language barrier, but I do think there's some sort of disconnect sometimes with some of our questions where maybe it's a shortcoming on our part where we don't articulate it properly, or just like I said, maybe it's as simple as a language barrier. But whatever it is, he sometimes just doesn't really get what we're asking,
Yeah.
and doesn't really want to think get that far in the
Mhm.
weeds, right? As far as like speculating or anything. And I can respect that. The job's done, it's 3-1, whatever, right? Um, when it comes to those types of topics, it feels more like you and me, or you and one of the other members of media, to sit
Mhm.
there and speculate. Because I do think that there is some credence to it. I do think that there is something to that. Like, um, yes, of course he's not good. Like, even the way he phrased it, I'm not telling my guys to go out there and get yellow cards. Yeah, you're not, but you are telling them to win their duels. You are telling them to get stuck in and to actually compete. Yeah, you are. And the byproduct of that instruction is an increase in yellow
Mhm.
cards, an increase in fouls, right? So he might not have understood it as that, and that's fine. But I do think that there is a correlation between the two, and it was just a funny interaction with him in the press conference when you asked him that.
Yeah, and like I said, I was really nervous about asking a question like that because it's
Right.
not my MO. I could ask either when we had Nick Cushing last year, I can do a lot of things like that. And I remember
Hmm.
one time, I think the team had gone like, what was it? What was it? When they had that like 6 or 7 straight draws, if you remember.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe
Yeah, I do.
2023. Or they were in the
Absolutely.
middle of a rough streak, and they were, and the,
Yes. Yeah.
the fans were a bit all right. And the question I remember asking in this case here, on a level of 1 to over 9,000. Now, over 9,000 is a Dragon Ball Z reference, but
Yes.
one that Nick Cushing got immediately. He had a smile on his face as soon as I said over 9,000.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things I can do something like that with Cushing that I can never do with the onset. So I admit I was actually kind of curious. I told Mark, not you. I told
Hmm.
Mark that part of me was almost regretting asking that question there, just because of the fact that I was like, was that the kind of question I should ask? But in looking at it in hindsight, now being like 3-ish hours after the fact, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. And that's why I don't know if you noticed how when I asked him my question, because I noticed that when I asked him my last question about the subs, right?
Mhm.
I said after the subs, you ended up with Hannes. You went from inverted wingers to traditional
Mhm.
wingers, and
Remember that.
what I meant was on the other once you had made all your subs, you ended up with
Mhm.
traditional wingers as opposed to inverted wingers. And what he understood it as was after the first sub, after the sub, right? And that it was in that moment where I realized, oh, you have to be very clear, very descriptive. Not
Mhm.
because again, I don't want to, oversimplify it by saying it's a language barrier. It's just he's a guy he needs you to be that detailed.
He's a
You
very
know,
technical personality.
he needs you to
You
be
know?
very detailed and technical. So
Yes.
I've learned now the type of language I have to use when I'm asking him questions, and that's why when I asked him today about Augustine, and I referenced what he said about him having a hesitancy to be direct, and even that he had to put a little bit of a correction onto it, where he said, "Well, it's not that he's unwilling," and that was okay. Just
Yeah. No.
let's talk. It was a quote from him about Augustine and being direct, and I just wanted him to address that. That's all.
He's a lot more of a technical personality type,
Hmm.
and I can go into, I hate Myers-Briggs, but I use a different system that, in his personality and how he operates, and he's pretty much a technical person to a T. And
Yeah.
he's,
What I like it in Toyota. I like it in Toyota a little bit,
in
in
many
the
ways,
sense
yeah.
of that do or do not, there is no
There's no
try.
try. You know,
There's no shades of gray with him. It's either one thing or the other. And in a lot of in some ways that might be limiting, but I also like where it's just like it's for instance, even with his tactics, right? It's he comes out at the half and it's no longer a one striker setup. It is
mhm,
two strikers, it's a two-man midfield. It's you know what I mean? You see the difference. There's no is he trying this? Is this tweak there? There's no question about it. So, like I said, there's it's do or do not with him. It's very Yoda. There is no try. There's so when we're communicating with him, I'm realizing that we have to be it's do or do not.
specific.
Yeah, we have to be very specific.
With someone like him, and by the way, this is perfectly fine. We started a few minutes late on her side. On our side, it's 100% my fault. So believe me, you're cool.
Yo, Davi, same.
Yeah, it was my fault. I glitched, figured it out, feel like an idiot, but moving on.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, with him, there is the difference there. One of the things that one of the other people mentioned earlier is that when you used to ask Nick Cushing a question, he would answer what he kind of wanted to answer and not necessarily answer what you chose to ask. And as a result, there was a little bit with, frustration on our part and the fans' part, where
Yeah.
it's like basically, you see, you took out Tavon and you did this. Why did you do that? Well,
Yeah.
basically, and it would be the answer would be over here. This for tonight, he said very simply, I took out Tavon because we had an
Straight up.
opportunity with the red card. We want to put an extra attacker up front and attack that that defense because they're playing a person down.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's where the Mason the Line Dixon thing from Rocky Balboa, and I'm dating myself a little bit, comes into play here. But
Yeah.
I think the team got a win that I wasn't necessarily expecting because again, you're dealing with a Chicago Fire team that A has was winning 3 straight, B
Yeah.
unbeaten in 4, and C was 5-1-1 this season when they scored first. So
That and
that's
I
a
mean all of
yeah.
those things, and then you got Kuipers, right? Kuipers, who's I think
He was
third
at, he was
in
at
the
8 going
Golden
into
Boot.
today. Mm.
Huh?
He was at 8 goals going into today.
There you go. Like danger man,
Hmm.
danger man. But one thing I really kind of always have faith in is our defense's ability to kind of stand anybody down. Like even Messi, dog.
Hmm.
Even on those games, for some reason, those games against Miami, they show up, man. They really do.
It's a
They
different
managed
Messi now,
to
though.
say again.
It's a different Messi now, though.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm not trying. Obviously, I'm not implying that they're it's
See the
they're not
video I posted about that one, by the way.
they're not dealing with 2012 season Messi. They're not dealing
Hmm.
with that Messi, but it's still Messi. It's still Messi who feels like he has legs to play the game.
Hmm.
That's what I mean, right? And they're dealing with Suarez, who still thinks he has legs to play the game, who might not have the
Hmm.
legs to play the game anymore, but they're dealing with that and they handle that pretty well. I'm just saying, I tend to put my faith really strongly into that back line, especially when Burke is there. Like,
Hmm.
especially when Burke is there. I think that partnership, exactly. Messi is still Messi, he should still be in Europe. I do agree with pretty much the first part of that sentence, right? The he should still be in Europe. That's up to those clubs to decide. But like Messi's still Messi.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of faith in this defense. Thiago is one of the more nuanced defenders. Like he's just it's more than just athleticism and pace with that guy. He's just a good defender and he knows how to interrupt and redirect situations, and Burke is just a great partner for him, a great partner for him. And can we talk a little bit about what's going on in that back left quadrant of the formation
Absolutely.
with Burke, Justin, and I mean just Burke and Justin,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So what do we have with Burke? We had our own only left-footed, other than Kevin,
Hmm.
our only left-footed defender, right? In Burke, we also had a very decent long passer,
Hmm.
right? And but he was very injury prone and could make some questionable decisions when it came to the passes. He could give some hospital balls from time to time. Then you have Justin. young guy, homegrown, still trying to find his feet. We didn't know if he was a CDM or a center back, and then suddenly there was this question of, okay, he's definitely a center back in Pascal's system. He's not a CDM, especially when you bring in Aiden into the situation. Where does that put Burke? And then a lot of questions arose, and we know that Burke is the kind of guy who's not going to be happy with sitting on the bench.
Mhm.
And Pascal just figured out a solution for that. He goes, "Hey, Burke, you're going to play elbow back, right? And Justin, you're going to sit in that center back position. But what we're going to ask you to do is play a sort of a hybrid role. When we're in
Mhm.
possession, you're stepping up into midfield, and then Burke, you're going to just tuck in underneath, and we have a three at the back." And just figuring out a role or a way, just a solution to get both these guys on the pitch and use them to the best of their abilities, that is chef's kiss. That's
Mhm.
what I look for in managers that I admire, because they find solutions. He found a solution for this. He didn't just say to a guy, "Hey, Justin, you don't make as much money as Burke, so sit on the bench." He didn't just say to Burke, "Hey, Burke, I can't trust that you won't get injured when somebody sneezes on you, so you sit on the bench." He didn't just say that. He didn't just make someone swallow a pill. He goes, "Hey, I'm gonna figure out a way to make you both fit into my system," and I love that.
Yeah.
I love a problem solver, a solution finder. You
Yes,
know.
there's an F bomb in here, but I'm okay with it.
I'm
You know
sorry.
what? There's an F bomb in here, but I'm okay with it.
Oh, did I?
What I found interesting about Munsef is, and I forget who I said it to, but last year, when he had that goal, he ran immediately into Nick Cushing's arms. In this goal today, he was just like bringing in problem solve. Now, I interpreted that as one of two ways: increased professionalism, or he's over this team, and I don't know which one it is yet.
No, 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 no. I don't think he's over. And I get the vibe from Munsef that he he's got a chip.
Hmm.
There's a chip on his shoulder, and the chip is I didn't. And I think this happens. There's a larger conversation here, but I'm not about to have that right now. But I'm just going to touch on it really quick. I think a lot of players come into the MLS and think they're going to walk it. I think a lot of players that shouldn't have that mentality about the MLS. They come here and they think they're going to walk it,
Mm.
right? And when they come here, they get shell shocked, right? And you either have this, the spine to stand up, or it gets you, it overwhelms you. And I think he got overwhelmed by how intense the league is. I call the MLS diet prem.
Hmm. Oh
It's
yeah,
diet prem, 100% diet prem. And
Triple A soccer is my usual go-to.
I don't think he came here and expected how difficult it would be
Mm.
to just play ball. And I think he's now. Let me be clear. I was definitely anti Munsef since last year, right? I've not been his biggest fan. But two things I can do is change my mind, given new information, and back a guy who seems to be trying.
Hmm.
And Munsef, he's overwhelmed
I like
enough.
that comment right there. Scored the first goal, though. Give him credit.
But Munsef has said to himself, "You know what? I'm glad." I almost think he's glad that he's not the guy.
It could be.
I think it's taken off so much pressure off of his back to not be the guy, right? And now you got to work, you got to compete.
Hmm.
And when he's been given minutes, I also think he's been like, okay, scoring goals is just not what I'm really. It's not working for me right now.
Hmm.
So I'm going to do all the other things really well. One of our colleagues, Alec, we
Hmm.
were talking about it tonight, and he mentioned, like, if Monsef was scoring goals consistently, it wouldn't be a question who's starting. It would be Monsef, because Monsef does all the other things so well except goal scoring. He's one of the best pressers of the ball from the front. He wins his duels. Now he's winning his aerial duels, right? So he's effective in the air too, and he's getting a little bit better with his
Hmm.
passing and hold up play. He does all those other things that you would want a striker to do outside of goal scoring. And now, if he adds goal scoring into the
Hmm.
into the equation, discussions probably need to be had of like not necessarily supplanting Alonso. Alonso is still Alonso, but discussions need to be had of, hey, what does this look like now? Right? Do we go two strikers? Do we go Munsef out wide? What does that look like now? Right? And I just like seeing that. I like seeing a guy go, you know what? Let me try. Let me really try. Let me do all the other stuff.
Mhm.
Let me work hard. And one thing you can't say about Munsef is that he's a lazy guy. He works hard, you know? And
Which is
now
why he's still
it's
getting minutes.
exactly. And Pascal, this is a proper coach. This is the coach who's coached
Mhm.
at some of the highest levels. So he knows what he's looking at. And I take that seriously that he's giving Munsef chances. There's
Mhm.
something Munsef is doing right that's making him earn these chances. And now it's paying off. Again, I have been anti Munsef since last year. Since the end of 2023. But I can change my mind given new information.
Mhm.
And I can also back a guy who seems to get it now, you know? And it is just one game, but I think he deserves a little bit of flowers for just an amazing performance. And frankly, not just in this game, every time he's come on, he's been a nuisance. He presses, he wins aerials, he's doing it. So I'm excited to see where his form goes from here on out. I want to talk a little bit about the two striker
Mhm.
shift.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm yapping. My bad.
No, dude,
Um,
yap away. It's fine.
but Pascal, I asked him about. In my opinion, I thought he should have been man of the match. That's an
Mhm.
interesting take, Davi. That's not that. That's you're not off. There's an argument to be made there. But Pascal has
I think it went to the right person.
it did. I agree with that. I agree with that. That's another, and we're going to talk about Hannes in a bit. But Pascal has been toying with two strikers
Mhm.
in like the dying minutes of the game for a good couple games now, right? And y- I realize it's his way of giving Munsef minutes, giving him a chance, seeing where he's at, where his mental is at, what's going on, what his work rate is at. And Munsef has had really good, like in just a matter of 10 minutes, he would come on in the 80th and run his butt
Mhm.
off, right? And second goal doesn't happen without him in my
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Throw that up there really quick. The comment Davi just did.
Yep.
Second goal doesn't happen without
Mhm.
him. He recovers the ball, and without that, first off, we don't know if that's it without his interception. We don't know what happens there. You know, Matty was already beaten once on the day. We don't know if that's a goal again, right? But for him to intervene, I watched him make that run, and then I kind of took my eyes off of him because the play got close to goal, and then he just pops up and intercepts, and I was like, I watched him make that recovery run, and it was just so impressive. And that's just what Munsef has always been. This isn't new. Munsef covers some of the most ground ever since Santi was here, right? And wins some of most of the duels. And
Sorry.
like I said, I've always given that kid the credit of being a hard worker, and I will always give a guy credit for being a hard worker and just trying. Um, and now it seems as if like, especially with that finish he had today, it was just so like there was a bit of it was almost spite,
Mhm.
like spite against whatever bad form he was in. And I think Pascal injects so much confidence into his players. I think he really does. I think because again, he's a you said he's a technical guy. Technical means you're pragmatic. It means you see things for what they are. And I think he I think he sees how hard Mosif is working. And man, I would love to see where this goes from here as far as what the shape of the team looks like, especially with I mean Alonso scores the penalty, but he struggled today. He struggled today to get the goal in the back of the net.
Well, he did have the two mistakes. The two opportunities that were lost. The one off the crossbar was one of them too, and that shot over the top. So he did struggle a little bit in this case here. It was funny because whoever was to my right during the post game mix zone thought actually Hannes Wolf did it, and Hannes was like, "No, it was Alonso." Now I want to give a weird little shout out. Let's see, was this?
I don't think Munsif is going to supplant. I don't think Munsif is going to supplant Alonso.
No,
I
but
do
he
think
needs
he's going to come
assist
in
guy.
earlier. So he's going to be the what?
A good assist guy, a second.
Oh,
Basically you got your 9 and then your 9A, if you will.
yeah. I would love to see. I would love to see him play around with this with the second. The two striker formation. It looked like I saw Maxi in behind them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just would love to see. I mean, I showed you my ideal formation for this team. I would love to see a 4-4-2 diamond, and I mean, obviously, what we're doing there is we're telling Julian and Ojeda, hey, there's not really a place for you on this team, but they've had their chances. They've had their chances to prove that the wings is their domain. Um, and I think now Tavon and whoever gets to start on that left side of the defense,
Mm-hmm.
I think usually, frankly, actually, it's Hannes. If you would like to talk a little bit about Hannes, it looks like we're about to talk
This is
about
the
Hannes
video.
right now.
This is actually Hannes' video too of the goal. So great timing, I suppose.
Mhm.
Yeah. So in this case, I deleted out the part where he overshot the what he thought was going to be the header. But if you watch
Yeah.
this shot here, let me just slow this down a tiny bit. There we go. It's a perfect shot right to the corner, right to the outside corner. With very very little space on that.
Boy, yo.
And like I said, it was perfectly placed just outside the reach.
Now, I have to say it. I have to say it. When he first came in,
Mhm.
questions were asked about whether or not he would play left back, cam, or right wing.
Mhm.
Under Cushing, he seemed to be playing primarily right wing, sometimes and come inside and used as a creative influence in the central spaces in that way, and sometimes cam, I guess. But rarely, I don't think he ever started on the left for Cushing
Mhm.
as a traditional winger.
I have to look that up actually.
I don't think he ever started on the left, or even was subbed, like because of a sub was pushed to the left. I don't think he ever played on the left under Cushing.
Mhm.
And for me, it goes to. I mean, if you look at how many different ways he's been deployed under Pascal versus how he was deployed under Cushing, it's black and white, right?
Mhm.
Nick was very insistent on his way, right? And a lot of players, they ended up getting stuck in a certain type of holding pattern,
Mhm.
right? If all you ever experience is being deployed in one way, and then you're not playing well in that way, it's going to be hard to break a run of bad form.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Hannes was
yeah.
never really on the left, right? As a traditional winger, because he's left-footed. Now, here's the thing about traditional wingers, in the sense of like, I mean, I'm saying traditional. What that means is playing on the side of your strong foot. This is left-footed. He's never really
Mhm.
played on the left side. What that means is you're gonna attack down the line more often. We weren't getting a lot of that from the team last year. We weren't getting a lot of wing play, a lot of passes inside, um, and that was because we kept inverting our wingers. They would keep cutting inside, including Santi. They would keep cutting inside, trying to combine, and we would either lose the ball or it just didn't pan out. Um, Hannes, I can't remember what the data was, but maybe a couple games ago, um, Hannes had. Oh man, I'm trying to look it up. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. By the way, this is the Munsef goal, where Hannes was also involved here too. And this was one of the things that I found that was important, because his control of the ball during a very tight play here opened up the opportunity, not just once but twice, for Hack to get basically do the setup for it. What do you got?
Hannes was starting on the left, 3 goals, 1 assist, 7.18 average match rating.
You
Hannes was
pulled that
starting
up
on
way
the
too fast.
right.
Was that not like, did you like ask ChatGPT that?
0 goals, 0 assists, 6.66 average match rating. You see what it was on the left versus the right. Now,
Mhm.
for me, that's enough to say for certain he's more of a traditional winger. But I
Mhm.
knew that even last year, watching him on the ball, there's just a certain way that wingers who could create coming inside and who could be played inverted. There's a way that they look on the ball. Like for
Mhm.
instance, GP. GP was exactly that.
Mhm.
GP was a guy you don't play him traditionally. You play him inverted and you have him cut inside and be creative in that way. Because there was a way that he receives the ball, the way that he cuts inside, the way that he carries the ball. There's just a way that looks. Giannis looks like a downhill player. He
Mhm.
presses. He has a lot of stamina, covers a lot of ground. That's the kind of guy you want playing on the side of his strong foot. And we saw today was extremely indicative of all the benefits that come with playing a left footer on the left. There were so many times when he received the ball on that left side today, and he cut it back and cut it back
Mhm.
and played it in the middle, played it in the middle, and it would either hit shins or it would sail through and nobody would get on the end of it, but he would just keep trying. And that frequency of chance creation is what you look for from a traditional winger,
Mhm.
right? There were a couple where he should have shot it for sure, but just having that, even it's kind of like when in the NFL when you run the ball, even if he doesn't get like 7 yards, if he gets 1 or 2 yards, you still committed a down to that, right? So now it's in the opponent's mind that, oh, they can run the ball. They're gonna run the ball. So it's the same thing with if you have your winger cutting that ball back, eventually they're gonna be like, hey, that's a dangerous thing. We have to account for that.
Mhm.
Right. And all of that has an effect. All of that has an effect
Yeah.
on the outcome of the game. So Giannis has been quietly having such an amazing series of games over the last, like, I think it was since that Atlanta game where he scored a brace, was it?
Yes.
Since that Atlanta game, he has been having quietly a very good series of performances. They weren't game winning or game changing necessarily, but they were the type of performances where I wasn't rolling my eyes, where I was like, you know what, Honest, you're putting in a good shift here, bro. You know? And look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at the
But
calm on that, huh?
like I said, in this case here, when you look at not just the one, but also look at the little chip pass. And I asked Hannes about this after the game. He said that the two of them had already talked and had pre-planned out that little chip kick right there that you saw. That to me was the biggest part of all of it. Just to get that ball high enough and just open up the hack. Unsung hero on this goal here.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh
know.
yeah. Oh, don't even talk. I wish you had the through ball, the left-footed through ball from him to
Oh, the goal.
Alonso. No, I don't know if it was a goal. It was a saved. It was saved. But
I
dude,
don't know.
that ball from him was amazing. And it was perfectly weighted. It curved right into his stride. It's the kind of thing that confirmed for me since preseason, because he was doing that since preseason. Justin, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Justin has been breaking lines and creating trouble and problems with his passing since preseason, and it's nice to see um, just the glimmers of that in this game. But back to Hannes really quick. Hannes has been putting in shifts and has been doing exactly what Pascal has been at, what, or rather, whatever
Mm-hmm.
Pascal has been asking of him. Hey, we need you to play wing back, and you're the left side Marshall. You're the defensive problem on that side, and the attacking potency on that side. We need you to go box to box. Can you do that? Hannes is doing that. Hey, we need you to cover for Burke. If Burke overlaps on you, then you need to be there and help out. Drop deep, maybe even come into the box and help out. And he stopped a couple plays today in the box. Hannes has been quietly having a really really good couple of games.
Unsung play here too. Again, we're doing this in slow mo.
What's this?
This pass from
Oh,
Matt Freeze, dude, that
oh,
is what 50 some odd yards right there.
that's that's
I
that's
mean,
just
in
that's
this
just a
case,
fade route. That's just a fade
Ojeda
route
had a
for
little
real.
bit of trouble trying to, to lock it down and everything. This was the yellow card that ended up, turning the Martinez goal. Now
That's
they
just a
checked this
fade
on
route.
VAR, and I was prepared to ask the officials about this. If that call got overturned, I already had the website for PRO locked and loaded, and already had everything typed out in case it got overturned to get an official statement on that. I chose not to in this case, not because of the fact that they went ahead with it anyway, but because Berhalter's reaction wasn't really pissed off. Berhalter knew. You know, I watched his reaction on Apple TV, and it's like he wasn't pissed. You know, for those that don't know, I'm the pool reporter for home games for NYCFC. So so when there's official statements on questions that the officials are required to answer, they have to come through me. So, you know, questions I have, questions that Haylon has, anybody, they're like, okay, we need to ask this. I'm allowed up to 3 questions for as a pool reporter to send out to the officials, and they have to issue statements on each one. So I work for both teams in this regard. So I work for the Fire just as much, and I was fully prepared if Berhalter was pissed and throwing a hissy to ask that question. What did he see in that moment? He wasn't pissed. I let it go. So no, I just actually transposed that a little bit. Oh shit, Scott. No, it says oh shit, Scott, or Scott shit. That's fine. But no, in this case, I've had the job since technically 2023. So, but it's something I don't use that often. I used it a couple of times when I think it was when was it Matty Pellegrini got that red card that was eventually rescinded. There was this red card with suspension. That was one of the questions I asked the officials on that, and I don't know if it had an impact or not, but at least it was one of those things the officials were forced to answer a question on that, and it was a red card and a suspension that were eventually overturned. So that was kind of funny. Bossman. By the way, if you want to be Jewish on this, but call me Bossman. Marty Bossman from Bayside. I'm Jewish. I can say it. It's okay.
That was to Ojeda, who, you know, it's he and Julian are in a tough spot because presently everybody is kind of really finding their form.
Yeah.
Like Justin, Burke, Thiago, Matty, Tavon and Micha.
Yeah.
Aiden came in and hit the ground running.
I just love his pass. It's freaking amazing.
It's an amazing pass.
Continue, please.
You know, Maxi's Maxi, Keaton's Keaton, who we'll touch upon that in his first couple of minutes with Aiden.
I have, by the way, I have a quote from Keaton also to play. I should mention that.
Nice. And Alonso's Alonso. And now Hannes, and we talked about Hannes, right? And then now even Munsef. Yeah. But Ojeda and Julian are in a tough spot. Everybody's finding their form. First off, can we hold on? Sorry, I interrupted myself.
I want to throw something on this too. I want to throw something on this too, but
go ahead. What's your thought? Just really quick. He saved that and it still went in.
Yeah, you can see you can see a finger right there. And you see the trajectory twitch just a little tiny bit. So
that's some grown man stuff.
And even then, right there, you can see that he was still that Martinez was still predicted in that moment. Yeah. You know, and that's a little bit of a telling sign. Listen, a goal still counts as a goal. Fine.
A goal's a goal. Yeah.
But when you're in a PK situation, your job is to trick the goaltender. And
right.
It could have been luck. It could have been expertise. I'm not sure, but he got a finger on that.
Oh, it was. He read it. Mm-hmm. He got lucky also, right? It is a 50-50 thing. But
I'm trying not to get demonetized, by the way, so I'm trying to keep it on mute.
Yeah. It just, you're right. It's really indicative of kind of the form Alonso's been in, and he's got to find a new level.
Yeah. I mean,
he's got to find a new level.
Yeah, if this, I mean, I don't think Chicago comes back and ties this game, but if Alonso missed this PK,
right,
then you got questions coming up.
Oh, if you had missed this, for me, it's either Burke or Maxi on pens from here on out.
You and I talked about this last time when he fell to 2 and 4. Now he's 3 and 5, which a little better. But if he fell to 2 and 5 here, this opens up a lot more questions because again, we agreed it was too early to pull him off, but we both agreed if he misses another one,
the next one,
he got this one, he gets the reprieve there. So, but I do have Keaton's comments on being back in the lineup. So give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Yeah, very happy. Obviously very happy with the win tonight and the performance of everybody, but yeah, very happy to be back, and hopefully it's just up from here.
And you didn't have much time, obviously, but do you have a goal for this game, if anything?
Just to get on the field. I don't know if I would be something or not. Obviously, taking a lead and going up 2 men is nice to just jump on the field and get your feet under you. But yeah, I just wanted to get on the field, help the team in whatever way I could. And yeah, very happy to be back.
Thank you.
One pickup, if you don't mind. So right now you got Wednesday coming up. You figure you get more minutes then?
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully I'm progressing and I'll feel good, even better by Wednesday.
There you go.
I'm glad he was. I really appreciate that he was somewhat honest about the injury,
Yeah.
nagging foot injury, and it's hard to diagnose it. But obviously he's being purposefully a little bit opaque. Doesn't want to say exactly what it is.
He's a whiz when it comes to PR.
Oh, for sure, he's so media trained. He's so
Yeah.
media trained.
Very much so.
And so, but I like that he gave just enough to at least give us an acknowledgement that, hey, yes, it is an injury,
Mhm.
and it is something that's going to be chronic, and we never know when it's going to flare up, and it's a reality for my career now. Like now he's attached to that. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And I
It's on
respected
his resume,
the
for better or
honesty
for
there.
worse.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I respected the honesty there. With that said, we have him back, and
Mhm.
we saw him in there with Aiden for the first time, and maybe, obviously maybe I'm seeing it through rose-colored glasses, and maybe it's because he's back for the first time and he's just got that energy. But dude, he's playing in a way as if he knows there's a responsible adult in the room,
Mhm.
as in Aiden. I mean,
Yeah.
there's someone behind him who is committed to watching that back door, making sure no one sneaks in. And I don't think he could have really. I mean, yes, Jimmy, right? But
Yeah,
Aiden
but
is
Sam's was younger though. He didn't have the same
Sam's was
leadership persona.
younger.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sam's was younger and he was more reactive than, and I don't know if this is a word. I'm making it up right on the spot. Anticipative.
Mhm.
I
We'll
don't
count
think
on it.
if
It'll work.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I don't know if Jimmy was more of an anticipator, but
Mhm.
he was more of a reactor. And that's fine, right? But Aiden anticipates things. He puts fires out before they even start.
Mhm.
And it's a word now.
It's a word now.
And it I mean, speaking from the perspective of having played, obviously, it definitely does. It changes how you play or how many more chances and risks you're willing to take in the run of play when you know that there's someone behind you who's being more responsible than you,
Mhm.
right? And you saw it. I swear it was there. Like Keaton was he was doing Keaton stuff. He was keeping that field tilt in the favor of New York City. And um I don't know. I can't wait to see a full strength Keaton. I can't wait to see when this midfield of the full strength midfield, Keaton, Aiden, and Maxi. I would love to see it be like a box midfield,
Mhm.
Keaton, Aiden, Maxi, and Johnny, or a diamond midfield. But it's Pascal's the boss.
We may wrap up in a couple of minutes because we got started late again. This is 100% my fault. But how do
Oh,
you
okay.
feel maybe about previewing Houston a little bit? Because dude, Houston's already around the corner.
Yeah. The only thing I really have to say about Houston is just it's going to be interesting to see how much the squad gets rotated for that game.
Mhm.
Today, I caught a glimpse of Perea in the stands with his family, like
Mhm.
in the stands, not even like in that VIP
Interesting.
area. He was like in the stands,
Hmm.
which is I think it was his girlfriend and his father. Um, so I assume Perea, yeah.
Yeah, Pereira will probably get some time. Strahinho probably get some time. And
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
I can see Keaton getting a proper start. Here's the thing I love about Aiden. I tweeted earlier that that he's a NYCFC legend. I stand by that. Aiden, I think is going to be what's the term for those guys that it's like a steal, like The Iron Man, or
Yeah, basically like a utility, like the utility guy or the.
no, just it's a guy who's rarely, he's always available. He's always available.
Well, I mean, usually a lot of times in baseball they call it a utility guy, but
He's an Iron Man.
an iron horse, yeah.
He's always going to be available, and always just, it's nice to feel that, to know that you have a reliably stable centerpiece to then kind of build your midfield around, depending on fitness and depending on
Mhm.
form. And it's just great to know that. Hooley had a tough game today. Uh, but even then, he still showed some really bright spots. I would love to see him start to kind of get
Go ahead, finish your thought. I have a laugh on something.
oh, I would love to see Hooley get when he fully makes his transformation into a cam. I don't think Hooley is a winger. He just doesn't have the pace for it. Um, he's gonna get developed under Pascal as a cam, it seems, and I just can't wait to see the finished product. I think he has a lot to offer. I think he's calm under pressure in the middle. I think he finds the right pass when he's in those moments. For some reason, on the wing, he's less adept at it, but in the middle, he just knows how to pass out of pressure. I don't know what it is about that. Last week against Red Bulls, uh, he pinged an amazing ball to Alonso in behind. It didn't result in a goal, but it was not what you would expect from Hooley um, in the middle of the park.
Mhm.
So yeah, I hope he finds his legs in the middle and just offers a little bit of reinforcement to Maxi there. But yeah, that's all I have to say really about Houston. I look forward to see him. There's a player on Houston who I think just for the novelty of it, New York City should bring him here. Brooklyn Reigns.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, or I mean, there's been occasional talk about bringing Gabe Siegel back. Siegel's not getting a lot of time over there. He's only had 4 games so far, but
Yeah, so you totally bring the guy back who's not getting a lot of time over there.
you know what? He was a good clubhouse guy, and I like the kid too. But
A
interesting
person?
fact,
Did you just call him a personality hire?
yeah, in some way. Listen, you got to focus on stuff like that too. Clubhouse cancers are a thing,
That is.
and you're like,
Santi Rodriguez. Santi
"Hmm?
Rodriguez.
Stupid who commented was. Anyway, this is what actually, like I said, Gabe Siegel and Munsef, I have like a soft spot for, so I admit that. But NYCFC now is in 6th place, ahead of Miami, I may add.
Can I say there's a I don't think not a lot of people is going to agree with me. There is a subtle rivalry there.
Yeah.
There's a subtle rivalry there. I'm shipping it. I'm totally shipping it. Like I don't think they've
They keep
beaten us
getting
yet.
draws. 3 draws in a row.
They haven't beaten us yet. Like they always struggle against us. And I'll go as far as even saying that we make the Giant bleed. We were one of the first teams in the league that made the Giant bleed.
Yes.
It was in that game when where they played at home and Alonso tied the game up late. We made the Giant bleed, and so I think we've kind of had their number ever since. One win about 15 games. What do you mean? Oh, what do you mean?
Yeah, I think I'm looking at the stat. Yeah, NYCFC is 7-1-4 against Inter Miami.
Oh, okay, cool. There you go. They have beaten us.
Yeah, the only game was a 3-2 loss back in 2022, like you said, on August 13th, and that was a game down in Dry Pink.
I would love to know what their record is against us since Messi got there.
You know what? Hang on a minute.
That's a record I'm interested in.
I can pull that up. Let me just switch over here. Oh, let's see. Messi got there 2023, so that one.
Because I think that record is actually even better.
Draw.
There you go. And
by the
when I
way,
say better, I mean like they'd never beat us.
Yeah, no. In this case here, 2023, NYCFC did win 1-0, but that was before Messi got there. That was back in March at the beginning of the season. After that, it was 1-1 in Drive Pink, 1-1 at Shea Stadium, 1-1 at Yankee Stadium, and then 1-1 at Chase again. So Drive Pink. So yeah, in this case, it's been 4 straight draws, and 3 of those games were at home.
So yeah, it's there's just this unspoken type of beef, not beef, but like just keeping score
Mm-hmm.
between us and them, and I love that. I love that energy. I love that we've leapfrogged them. Uh, it's probably better for the league that Messi does well, but yeah,
Well, the
2 draws,
league.
1
Well,
loss.
see, here's the other thing. There's talk that Messi may be gone after the season. Contract negotiations have stopped, and there's additional talk that Messi, if he goes, Evander may come in, which that would go out west. Shameless. I'm going to shamelessly whore myself out a little bit on this one. Why not? I do have a video that was centered around Messi. Feel free to take a look at it in the Stream Punks soccer. So, videos that I have. There it is right down there. Does Messi have a future in Inter Miami? Feel free to watch that one. I do give my thoughts on this. Yeah. Shameless for self-promotion. But when it comes to Houston Dynamo, this is a team right now that is currently looking on the outside, looking in a little bit. They
Yeah.
are 10th place. They are 1, 2, and 4 on the road. 3, 4, 1 at home. So it's pretty much about the same all the way through. Low scoring team, only 18 goals scored, only 22 goals allowed, which is pretty low on both sides. And for the most part, I mean, they're typically playing mostly 4-2-3-1, but of late it's been more of a 4-3-3-4 and 4-2-3-1. Same captain all the way through. 3-3 draw. There's not a lot to read on this right at the moment. So, but we'll see what happens. But boy, once May is done, we're gonna have to roll around into June, and all the teams are gonna get a chance to relax a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
Yeah. All right.
So yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll talk about that. I have some things, like I said before, I have some things in the pipeline. You know about both of them now at this point. I'm waiting to hear on Tuesday for one of them. It would be a Zoom call, which will eventually come here. I may post onto the community tab, onto the Stream Punk Soccer, and also to Reddit as well. This involves some of the players, I'll say this outright, in the NYCFC 2 organization. So if you guys have questions for some of the players in NYCFC 2, I won't mention that's probably going to be Alex Rando, Seymour Reed, I'm not officially saying that it's going to be them, but it may very well likely. Feel free to throw any questions you guys have that you want to ask them, because we'll address it. We'll throw them up there. You guys have questions for Rando? Let me know. So, and then someone else who has some notoriety with the team, which I'll get to that one in due course. But so, anyway, anything else, sir?
I think that's about it.
All right. So yeah. So sorry to one more time. Apologies for running a little bit late on this. That was my fault. Total pepcat.
But an hour is good.
We did an hour. We did an hour. So
yeah.
So I don't know why I decided to do a Hadouken there, but you know what? It's still an hour. Anyway, I'm Scott. That's Haylon. Thanks as always for tuning in. Give us your comments, your thoughts, your ideas, compliments, or complaints. I take it all. And then, yeah, we'll see you guys in a few days. And again, congrats to NYCFC. A good come from behind win today. Anyway, take care. Stay awesome, guys.